Okay. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Built to Last. Um, if this is your first time joining us, I want to welcome you to the Financial Reset series. It is going to be um, just amazeballs, right? And particularly in the day and times that we live in, I'm super excited about this series because regardless of where you are on the continuum, rather you are, starting to reset your finances because of maybe a financial misstep, or maybe you don't have enough finances, and so you're seeing that you need a reset, or even if you are in a position of scaling. I believe that regardless of where you are, in order to ensure financial health, which leads to financial wealth, in order to ensure financial stability and security, which leads to financial independence and freedom, you should always be resetting, right? We should always be in a position of knowing where we are, because things are ever changing. Life is ever changing. Right now, we're in the middle of, we're in the middle of beginning of a recession with inflation is happening. Just over this past weekend in my hometown of Philadelphia, they were hit with, they calling them microbursts. They always coming up with something new. Um, I believe it was just a tornado, mini tornado, or whatever. And some people were hit really hard. And here is the reality: just because it was an act of nature, some insurances don't even cover some of the damage that folks incurred, right? And so I say that to say, life is always happening. And in order for us to position ourselves to, be financially fit and healthy, then we should always be having resets. We should always be doing resets. Some would argue do them quarterly. Some argue do them monthly. Some argue do them daily, right? But whatever the case is, the fact remains that we should be always resetting our finances or doing financial resets. Um, Curtis, I think we have background from you. So let me put you on mute if you don't know how to put yourself on mute. You know how to put yourself on mute? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so uh, I'm excited because I don't hear this often. And one of the things that I know growing up in North Philadelphia, and Curtis shares that same space, there was times you had to be creative, right? You had to figure it out, right? You had to be as resourceful and as resilient as you possibly could. And so now in my adult life, I'm like, if it don't exist, create it, right? If it doesn't exist and I know I need it, then make it happen and bring some folks along, because one, biblically, there's nothing new under the sun. And two, we're all experiencing the same thing. So, my good friend here, which I will introduce properly soon, we are aligned in where we stand on just financial intelligence and financial discipline and financial stability and security. And so we said, listen, let's come together and put together an amazing series, not from a place of information. You can get that anywhere, right? You can Google this stuff. You can AI it. I don't even know if that's a thing, but I just made that up. I told y'all I grew up where you create a way. Um, but the point is, you can find information anywhere in this information age. But we said, listen, we want people to be able to pair their information with implementation in live time, because the moment calls for that, right? And it's never not a good moment to do this, but even more now, given the state of our economic affairs, our political climate, and just life in general, right? So What I want you to do, because over here at Built to Last, we don't believe that people should build alone. I want you to take a moment before we dive in, and invite someone, share this live out, right? I say this often. We make a lot of things go viral that may not move people's uh, needle any further along. It may move them emotionally in the moment, but how about we create environments and create space for things to go viral that will change people's lives for a lifetime and for generations to come, so that everyone is not constantly starting from ground zero, and particularly in this area where their finances are concerned, right? And so I want you to take a moment and share this out. Share, the link is in the chat to this YouTube channel. We're Built to Last Solutions. Go ahead and share this out. I want you to also like it, subscribe. That gives us an opportunity to get this quality information before people. And when I say quality, you'll see we're not into fluff. We ain't got time for that. Curtis and I both have extremely busy schedules, and so we when we come, we're coming with the whole raft of everything that we know, right? And what we have positioned ourselves to be exposed to, either through our mentors, which he and I both spend tens and thousands of dollars throughout the year to be properly trained and be exposed to new information. We educate ourselves. We experience things on a level by which we try to bring it to you. And so this is premium and quality information, and not just information if you're really tapped in, that you would want to pass up. You want to take advantage of it, and you want to implement it. And so I'm going to give you a moment. Go ahead and share this YouTube channel out, and bring other folks in. They say you are the sum of the six friends that you spend the most time with, right? And so, that's not necessarily a criticism, or it is, but it might be some constructive criticism. And so, if you want more, you have to position yourself to be around more. And I believe that if you stay tapped in over the next 20 to 30 minutes, your life can increase exponentially, right? And so, again, welcome, 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 welcome. And if this is your first time joining us, again, welcome to the Financial Reset Series. I am Terry Brown Taylor with Built to Last. And over the next several weeks, we're going to have some honest conversations about something that impacts every single household. And yes, you guessed it, money, right? Now, some people say money is a low vibration word, and so they don't like to use it. But it rather is money, cash, wealth, them dollar bills, y'all, whatever you want to say. We're here to talk about that specifically, and not just talk about it. I want to caution myself. It is to give you some actionable steps that you can take to reset your finances and reposition yourself. Because I know you need to, and I know you want to, and I know you've been desiring, and I know you've been praying, and I know you've been asking, like, when am I going to catch a break? Here's the break right here, right? The break is right here. So stay tapped in. And we're going to talk about this and give you some tips and some tools and some tactics, not from the perspective of getting rich overnight. If you hear that, then you're limited already, right? Because that is not going to position you to build capacity. That's not going to position you to build infrastructure, right? And that's what we want. Capacity allows you to keep going and going and going and building and building and building and building. The overnight thingy causes you to maybe get temporary relief, well, one is no such thing as that, but then two, it tickles your fancy more than anything else, and we're not here to do that tonight. And so this is not from hype, it's not from gimmicks, but it's from stewardship, strategy, and sustainability. Today we're beginning with a question almost everyone has asked: where did my money go? Where is my money going? What happened? Right? Get paid on a Monday, is gone by Monday night, right? And for some, if you got things on auto draft, sometimes payday is Monday and you don't see a dime and you like, where, why I got $2, right? And so that's a question that we want to answer, and not only answer it, but give you some solutions to fixing it, right? Because you shouldn't be asking, and I'm not gonna steal my friend's thunder, but I'm sure it'll come up, and so he's all right with me saying it. We ain't gonna be asking where it went. We gonna tell it where we want it to go. And if you stay locked in, that's the shift. That's the transformation that you should expect from tapping into this series. Because here's what I've learned after years of helping families, businesses, owners, and investors: most people don't actually have an income problem. They do have a cash flow problem, right? They have a cash flow problem. Money comes in, money goes out, and somehow nothing remains, right? It doesn't stay. And that's why I invited someone tonight to share this time with me, um, because collaboration over competition is the flex all day long, and two are better than one. And so, I might be able to communicate in a different way, and your learning style might vibe with it, or you might resonate with it and be able to take action in 2 seconds, or he may be able to communicate in a way that causes that same effect to a group that I may not be able to reach. We don't care. We just want it to reach, right? And so I'm grateful, which is another reason why I have a profound, deep respect for this young man, because of just some principles and some ambitions and passions that we collectively share. Curtis has spent decades helping families understand how money actually works, not just how to earn it, but how to keep it, control it, and build with it. And so, welcome, Curtis. I really appreciate you being here tonight. So let's jump in. Everyone says they need to make more money, but you often say that that's usually not the first problem. What do you mean?
So most people don't have it. Some people have an income problem, but most people don't have an income problem. They have a what I call a control problem, and they're because they don't have a system of controlling the money that enters. I use the term personal economy, and which just means like you can't control the economy. People say the economy is bad, but there's no such thing as the economy. There is the economy, but you have nothing to do with that. You got to control your personal economy, which is your production, income, and consumption expenses as a family unit. So, are you do you control that? I would say 80-90% of households out there don't even have a written budget. Like, so, what's coming in? Do you write it down? What's going out? Do you do you know what that is? And so I always liken it to, if you're running a business, how long would you be in business if you didn't track, here's what my revenue and here's what I spent out? You wouldn't know where you are, but you do it with your household, with with six figures coming in, and if you make $100,000 a year, or if you've been making $100,000 a year, and you look at, okay, well, here's what I made last 5 years. I've made $500,000, but what do I have to show for it? And you don't have anything in savings, then the money, now it wasn't completely $500 because you had tax that comes off the top, but still, it's like most according to the Fed, most households, the average savings rate of American households is less than 5%. So if you, that means you made a $500,000 that you saved out of every 100,000, you might have saved $5,000. So, and that's mostly structure because we're taught to budget. Budgeting is like driving a car forward, but you're looking through the rearview mirror, right? And so, what I try to have people do through our process to get people to look through the windshield and look forward. That's where the tagline "Tell your money where to go" instead of asking where it went. You can't drive looking backwards. People, if you're in business, you're hearing this, and let's say you got a bookkeeper, and you get your P&A. I found that most business owners don't even look at their profit and loss, let alone how to read it and the story that's telling them. But when you get it, it's already like middle of the next month. What can you do with that? That's like trying to fly an airplane, but you're using last month's weather report. Okay, this time last month it was sunny and no wind is zero and no clouds, and now you looking at that weather report trying to take off. It's about to be a storm. That's how most people handle their money.
So, interesting enough, I think people understand, they may not be able to put words to it like you just did, but they understand there's turbulence in their financial picture, right? And so we marketed this as there's an answer, but then there are some solutions, right? And so we're going to kind of get to those solutions in a minute, and we're going to talk about them throughout the broadcast today. So I want you to, jot that down so we can circle back to it. But and I think some things are caught and some things are taught. So we're going to keep on going. And listen, just locate yourself, not from a place of condemnation. That we ain't on that type time, right? That's what we say in the hood. We ain't on that type time. But we want you to locate yourself so that you can experience a shift. Ain't nobody got time to keep struggling from week to week, check to check, deal to deal, contract to contract, um, you know, election cycle to election cycle, and just all of those things.
Ain't nobody got time
Emergencies.
for that.
Ain't
Just saw
nobody
that.
got time
Ain't
for
nobody for
that.
that.
From
I got
emergency to
I got
emergency.
bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
She did say,
All
she
right.
said, well, you guys say it like she said, ain't nobody got time for that. But okay, so Curtis, you've taught that there's a difference between spending money
Yep.
and leaking money. Can you explain the difference? And what we're doing here is, because again, sometimes if you're in the survival of life, you may not be able to articulate what's happening, but you know what's happening. And we believe that the first thing is to raise your awareness around it. The more people, they don't get change because they don't confront the challenge, right? They don't confront the problem, right? So what we're doing here is to give you some language and give you some understanding, so that when you do get to actually confronting it, and confronting meaning addressing it and changing it, you know how to be targeted with it. I see people all the time, they're like, well, maybe I'll just make more money. Sometimes that's not the answer. If you already have leaks, you got to plug the holes and understand why the holes exist, so that you don't have a reoccurrence of more holes, and then the cycle just repeats itself. So we're taking time to to get into this a little bit, so that in case you need some be able to articulate and understand it, you'll be able to do that. So Curtis, I'm going to ask the question again. You've taught that there's a difference between spending money and leaking money. Can you explain that difference? Because I think that many families are leaking money without realizing it.
Yes. So there's three types of money. There's what I call accumulated money, money you save, 401ks, investment plans, that kind of stuff. There's lifestyle money, so that's the spending, right? What does it take to drive what you want to drive, to live where you want to live, have your kids go to school, your health care, food, groceries, what have you. That's lifestyle. And then there's transfers. So when I look at people's situation, I always tell people, look, I'm not in the lifestyle reduction business, right? So Curtis is not the one that's telling you can't go to Starbucks or none of that kind of stuff. You can't scrimp your way to financial freedom. Like, so, you know, focus, and that's the scarcity mindset. So you can't win focusing on, scrimping and scraping. You need to expand your means. How do you do that, right? So, which is a different talk. But transfers are monies that you're losing unknowingly and unnecessarily, right? So if you can become aware of them, so what you got to do is, and I'll go over what the transfers are, but first you got to identify them, and then you want to try to reduce them or eliminate them altogether. So a transfer means money's going from your checking account to somebody else's, okay? And most entities we're interacting are people that, or like the big, like I call it, a financial industrial complex. They create the situations, control the outcomes so that they profit. So everything we do has transfers built into it. So for example, here are the top ones. Number one, people don't have a system to control their cash flow. Like if you want an actionable thing, write on a sheet of paper in and out. Okay. If you want to be fancier, in flows, what's your net pay?
No, well,
And
wait, well, wait, wait.
okay,
Listen, go. No, listen. He said it. Don't miss that. Go and grab a notebook. There's a studies show that you retain more when you write it down versus when you try to just compartmentalize it and store a mental note. Because there are
yeah,
so many
you're not gonna do it.
competing thoughts, right? So listen, he's getting ready to give you some actionable steps or some solutions or some answers or some relief, right? Go ahead and grab your pen and your notebook so that you can write this stuff down. Sorry, Curtis, I just wanted to give
No,
them that.
so I'll tell you, I have a client that found me because I was guest on some show and I just said this. And so she did it. And then a month later, she said she had more money saved than she had ever saved before. So I said, look, I got this on a free call. Let me call him. and that's what helped her figure out where her money was going. So here's the thing. So one of the things I have people do, let me give you an actionable thing. We teach people to create what we call a wealth coordination account. Okay. So, and what I want people to do, I want to nail it down, is my goal is for you to save at least 15% of every check you get. Okay. Now, I don't care how much, but that's a good starting point. So that means if you make 100 grand, that's 574 a pay. So what I said was so if you go to HR and set up so that they send that amount of money. I don't care what it is. If you can't do that, $200 a pay. I don't really care the amount. But if you do that and then have that money sent directly to your wealth coordinator, which is just a checking account, but you've got to separate savings from consumption. That's step one. Okay. Income from consumption. So if you do that, you'll be surprised how much money you accumulate. Okay. Just by
And
doing
wait,
that.
and wait, let me just, for those people, because I can feel this in my spirit, that people are like, oh, that's basic. I know what to do. Well, if you knew what to do, you wouldn't do it. And a bishop of mine says sometimes we don't need to be informed as much as we need to be reminded, right? And so the question is that we're answering tonight and we're solving for is, where did my money go? Right. And we want to reposition us, folks, particularly, all people, right? But primarily people that look like us, to reposition themselves, not to be asking where their money went, but to give it an assignment and tell it where to go, and to position you to be able to not only make the money, because money is not hard to make. I want you to put that in the chat. Money is not hard to make,
Right.
right? But we also want to position you to be able to move it in such a way so that you can maintain it in such a way so that you can multiply it. Money should be a tool and it should be multiplied. It wants an assignment.
Money
And for
comes
those,
easily and frequently. I got that auto affirmation from Laura Langmar. Money comes easily and frequently.
say it again.
Money comes easily and frequently.
Money comes easily and frequently. And just for those who think we just having a conversation and we don't know, Curtis, take a little quick PSA moment to tell folks what your background is and how you're able to speak to this topic professionally.
Well, my background is I am the founder of Practical Wealth Solutions. I've been in the financial industry for since 1985. You do the math, and
This guy.
and
You
but
really gonna
you
tell
know
them to do the math while you in the middle of a live one?
41 years. But see, I always is a running joke, inside joke in the industry is like I got my license at 85, but I was with a certain company that who shall remain nameless, but it was they bought term and investors difference, and that's all I knew. So I was like Dave Ramsey on steroids. So I really had 1 year of experience 15 times. Okay, the first 15 years, so I really learned more about holistic planning, and started to learn what wealthy people do, and then from that point, I was probably, as my coach tells me, he always says, step into your authority, because I have, like you, I've spent well over six figures in my education getting into rooms, and I always try to be the dumbest, brokest person in the room, because you can't learn anything if you're the smartest person in the room. So I try to get
Come on
around.
here. I need you to say that for the people in the back. Cause even, how our worlds meet, and I'm gonna just ask you to repeat that so don't forget it. Is that I've been in real estate investing for over 20 years. And we won't talk a lot about me, but people come to me, either for their construction and renovation needs, or they come to me because they want to learn how to invest in real estate, know how to negotiate deals. And when I'm kind of walking them through it, sometimes I hear it. And Curtis, I'm sure Curtis is my financial advisor. So that's another way that our worlds meet. And inside of our community, we share him with that, with everyone. And we're working on personal economy, so I just get excited about that. But let me stay focused. Stay focused. And I hear often, I know, almost like they are trying to water down what it is that I'm trying to share. Now, here's the thing: if I was somebody that is easily offended, I would be like, well, Ninja, if you know, then why you here and why you ain't getting the results? But
Right.
because we try to lead with love and grace, we don't do that. So Curtis, say what you said again for the
Oh, is that what
people
we
in
do?
the
I
back.
don't. I don't. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so like I did a financial. So you say that stuff, I see the numbers, right? So that ain't what's happening, because I already said you say 4.5% of your income. So you got to, and your number one asset. Let me just expand on that. Your number one asset is you. Okay. So you have to invest. You want to invest outside of yourself, but what do you invest in? Your mindset, your skill set. Skills is what makes money. Money's a result of creating value in the marketplace. So you got to invest in your ability to solve problems for others, to be able to create value in the marketplace, and your network. Who do you know, and more importantly, who knows you? So I have spent six figures, more than six figures, probably in the last 5 to 7 years, on what my goal is to be the best holistic advisor in North America. So I I won't say that I am, but I'm not bad, and because I try to stay humble, and I business is a team sport. So in the financial world, I'm kind of like the macro manager. I'm the GA. I know a little bit about a lot, and I know enough to be dangerous. Then I call in an expert in. So if it's a tax thing, a credit thing, I just help coordinate all of your advisors so everybody's singing from the same sheet of music. So that's what I do. So mindset, skill set, network, and then you got to invest yourself. So I always try to be in rooms where I am the dumbest, brokest person there, right? Usually I'm the only black person there. So you got to get comfortable with that. I don't even faze me now. It's like, oh, you know, that's okay. I expect that, right? But my father-in-law, my wife's dad used to say, listen, you have to invite yourself to the party.
I like that. I like that. Like don't sometimes you don't wait for an invitation. And sometimes you gotta walk up in the room like they wish they would have invited you, right? But
Yeah, yeah,
I remember someone years ago asking me, like, you're not offended that they didn't invite you? No, because if that room has what I need, as long as I'm in the room, I don't care what preceded
that's right.
that.
I'm gonna get
Like,
in.
I know what I'm coming for. I have some targeted goals, and I don't care if Alfalfa was here teaching it. Like, I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna get what I need.
Listen, there's no. I remember one time I was a younger advisor, and it was like a master. I don't even know what to call it. It was a. You had to be at a certain level to be in the room, and I wanted to be there. So the it was a national sales director. He said, "Well, I handed out the papers. Like I was just in the room handing out the handouts, like just helping, but I'm in the room, right? So I'm noting all this stuff. I'm asking questions after the fact. I mean, I'm gonna get myself where I need to be. And so because the information's out there and you need to know. And so you have to fight to know. It kills me. I'll have people I don't like reading. I mean, you need to read I told them, look, you need to read 8 to 15 pages a day, minimum, right? Because if you do that, you'll be a different person this time next year. Because you gotta get around people, you gotta watch what you watch or who you hang around. So all that goes back to money. See, because to know, you say, well, I heard this before, it's basic. You master the basics and never get off of them. You got to, football, you got to block and tackle. So or I call it principles based planning. So if you read The Richest Man in Babylon, right? We're the second chapter, the 7 cures for a lean purse, the 7 cures for an empty bank account.
Catch that. That book is called The Richest Man in
Rich Man
Babylon.
Bob by George Clayson.
Then I want to ask the next question, but go ahead, finish that thought.
So it's just like it's the basis. I teach the basis part. So you got to make a decision. So like, oh, I can't afford to save. It's not that. It's a decision that part of all I earn is mine to keep. That's a decision. And so you've got to like stamp that. I just on a client call. So listen, you got to stamp that in your forehead. You can't tell me you did a flip and you got $30,000 and you gave it all away. Gave it all away. I had to pay the debt off. I had this and that. I say, what's the first rule of wealth? It ain't get out of debt. It's pay yourself first. So you violating that. So you're doing all this work. You spend 3 months renovating his house, and you don't have a damn thing to show for it because everybody's yelling at you, and you've fallen for the fallacy that everybody else's balance sheet is more important than yours. And you gotta, because again, we've been indoctrinated to give our money away. That's what I call a wealth transfer. So let me finish the thought. So the transfers are, and then we can go back into them. I just want to lay them out there. How you manage cash flow, how you pay your mortgage or mortgages. Like, so 15-year loans, sending extra payments. That's all a complete waste of money. Okay. And I hope you get mad at me. Okay. And I got people that sell programs with that, and I think it's highly inefficient. Once you understand how money works, it's risky, literally. Okay. Taxes are number one wealth transfer. So everything wealthy people do is to mitigate current and future taxation. Everything, not every other thing, everything. And but you got to understand the game. It's hard to win game. You don't know the rules. 3, how you fund your retirement plans. We put too much money in little silos that we can't touch. So if you have all your money going into a retirement plan, then you don't have access to money. So if you want a car, you got to get a car loan. So now 35 cents for every dollar is leaving your house in the form of debt. But see,
Well,
that's a
listen,
result.
listen, listen. I don't want I don't want folks to miss that. And then I want you to finish that up. But did you hear what he's saying? So, it's like, where did my money go? Even though it looks like you're saving, right? And you should have a category for that, right? But what he said is you end up not having proper access to it when you need it. So then you go take out a loan, or you're using credit cards, right? So you've heard the term credit card rich, cash poor, right? Because there is no multiplication of money, it usually just stops there. So, in order to get proper cash flow, and a lot of this, again, you might be like, my stuff is already out of control. Well, this is how you rein it in, right? You still have an opportunity to rein it in and make a new decision. May not be with what is past, but maybe what is coming now, right? You can course correct, and it may mean you then go back and correct what was done, right? For starting from today. So you may I thought it, right? So I know if I thought it again, there's nothing new under the sun. There's no respect of person. We all usually sometimes have the same type of thoughts or thinking. There's been times where I'm like, I'm dead in the water. How am I going to start from here? Meanwhile, I'm taking on more cash, right? Or more water. What am I going to do with that? I may not be able to undo the treading of the what got me into the water, right? Or and so that may mean I need to start, net new, or I might just be able to go back and undo that. So I just, for that person who's sitting out there like, this seems more for somebody who is at, starting starting have a clean start. Well, you can create a clean start. That's the difference of mindset, right? That, and we'll talk about some mindset shifts here in a moment. But Curtis, was there another bucket that you wanted to give them?
So here's the five. I'll just finish this thought, then we can move on. So it's cash flow, mortgages, taxes, how you fund your retirement plans. We just did a podcast on the $1 million people are losing by how they decide to pay for educational expenses for their kids. Okay, and um, major capital purchases, cars, credit cards. So I define as anything that you can't pay for in full within your cash flow, within your lifestyle money, and you got to put it on a card. That's a major capital purchase. And that creates transfers because that's money leaving your checking account going to Visa, to MasterCard. And then they don't really teach in personal finance opportunity costs. So you have to take that money and then add a rate to it, and then you'll find that when I go over people's stuff, I show them how you will literally, if you're just a average family, you will transfer away $1 million to $3 million in your working lifetime, unknowingly and unnecessarily. So, like, I don't know if I could put $1 million or $500,000 in your back into your check account, would that be helpful? Okay, so you got to know it exists, you got to identify them, and then you can take steps to recapture. And so here's the point I do as a financial strategist: there is
Okay.
more opportunity to do that than chasing more money, than trying to pick winning investments. As you talked about the bucket, it's hard to fill the bucket up if you got holes in the bottom. So people say, what do you do? Curtis is the hole plugger guy. That's where I start. You can't outrun inefficiency.
Okay. If someone feels like they work hard, their paycheck disappears, and they're frustrated, where should they begin looking first? Just under a minute. Where should they begin looking first?
So I would look at what's coming in, what's going out. Then I would look. So if I look at my outflows, then I separate them into three things: my fixed bills, my variable bills, and discretionary. So, for example, subscriptions. How many subscriptions do you have? What are those things called? With streaming services that you haven't watched. I have a guy
Oh, and
follow.
let me tell you, they the devil. Because what happens is this: how they get you, right? And they're banking. Like, I've heard somebody in the industry tell me that this is what they bank on, right? They give you a trial of some sort, right? And they're banking on you so in survival mode. Remember, at the top of this, I said everyone should be resetting themselves where their finances are concerned, and that involves understanding where your money is going in order to maybe make another move or to increase your income, or some things have passed, but they're banking on you so caught up in life and survival that that trial done came and gone. You're on automatic deduction, and because remember they had you put in a credit card even though it was the trial, right? And so that's why I say it's the devil. It's a setup, right? If you are not a person that is, got your finger on the pulse, and some of it, and I'm going to ask this question momentarily, but I want Curtis to finish up here. If you wasn't taught to have a relationship with money, then you won't. You have a relationship with paying bills sometimes. You have a relationship with consuming stuff, but we oftentimes do not have a relationship with money. And so therefore, we're not keeping our finger on the pulse of money. Right. And so these trials, yes, he's mentioning, and so I just wanted to inject there, they are the devil. And so if you know that, and you go ahead, but I just need
But
y'all to
step
know that.
one is, Cecilia, I'm going to go back to the first step. You've got to, savings has to be automatic and systematic, right? So I don't care about cutting nothing. You're going to
Can
decide
you say
that
that again, please?
savings has to be automatic and systematic. Okay. So you've got to set, I'm going to save 10 cents out of every dollar. That's 10%, right? You've got to set up a system where that money is transferred from your income into an account. So I don't care what you cut. It's you don't worry about that first. You set up the amount and then you back. Now you can go back. You have to make that first. That's step one. Set up an automatic reoccurring payment, because what we do is we pay our bills, and then if I have any money left over, I'll save it. That's how poor people think. Okay. And so I don't even have the energy to be politically correct this evening, right? So there's, um, if you're thinking I make money, I got to pay my bills, that's a poor person's mentality. Okay. And so you got, and what happens is rich people pay them, they save and invest when they get income, and they spend what's left over after they invest it. I think Buffett said that, right? And so they're not doing that because they're rich. They're rich because they do that. Okay, so you have to set that up. I had Myron Golden one time. I said to somebody, I said, my wife said, you can't say it to people. I said, listen, if you ain't, I had this woman, 50 something years old, making barely 60,000, three grown broke ass sons living with her, and had the nerve to be spending $200 on streaming services. I'm like, if you're not making 100 grand a year, you shouldn't even have cable. You need to read a damn book.
Burp, bleep, 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 and bleep, right? But the point is, right, that, and I want to be clear that we're not suggesting do not pay your bills, but what we are saying that, hey, listen, if if you can't pay yourself first, then that means you need to position yourself to be able to do that, either increase your revenue or decrease some of your expenses. But the principle still holds, right? If you're going to shift your mindset, which then shifts your spending set, right? Because it's first mindset, then it's skill set, then it's the thing, right? Then you have to start making these little small changes, right? And basically, what he's saying, and I kind of said it earlier, if you know you got holes, you turn off the TV. Turn off the TV, stop scrolling, right? Or if you're scrolling, scroll to something that's going to help put money in your pocket,
Right.
not take money out of your pocket. And believe it or not, and I'm gonna on Thursday, I'm gonna go over energetic fields and the psychology behind all of this. It zaps you, right, from even positioning yourself to think differently. And if you think differently, you end up having differently. So it is all intertwined. So, Curtis, you mentioned on that same vein, you mentioned before that many households could recover $200 to $500 every month without getting another job. how. And I think you were starting to go down this path of what are the biggest leaks you consistently see. So I just want you to name the biggest leaks. You said subscription was
How you pay
one.
your mortgage. Well, so in the lifestyle, this falls under lifestyle. Okay, so lifestyle, uh, which is partially a transfer over withholding from your, if you're a W-2 person, most people, if you're getting a big tax refund, you think that's a great thing. You're overpaying your taxes, which is now causing your paycheck to be short. So now what do you have to do? Because you put too much money in your 401k maybe relative to, because see, putting money in 401k is not saving. So
Wait,
you have to
you mean to tell me tax season is not me getting, the government is not giving me money? You mean to
no,
tell me
government's not
that they,
Santa Claus.
that
Look at your tax return. It says this is what you owe. This is what you taxes owed, $4,000. Taxes paid, $8,000. Refund, $4,000. Okay, so refund when somebody says that's your money again, right? But you're giving up use of it for a year, and because you don't have access to the money, you put it you use credit cards. And see, when you use credit card, let me define debt. Debt is a future obligation that you've involved yourself in, where the only way you have to pay for it is with money you have not yet earned. Okay, so you're using future earnings as collateral. Then when you get the tax refund, what do you got to do? Pay off the debt because you gave Uncle Sam a loan and use the credit cards to finance your lifestyle, and then now you get your money back. Now you got to pay that off, so you're still broke, right? So we give most of our money away, but that's what we've been trained to do. So we don't think that's a bad thing. That's what everybody does. Well, everybody's broke. Like that's why there's 2%ers and 98%ers. So you start with, I've got to decide that part of all I earn is mine to keep, and the number doesn't matter. It's the habit, right? I don't care if it's $50 a pay. It's the habit, and you just systematically increase it because you'll feel better if you start to see your capital grow. You start to see your savings grow. You become more confident. Your peace of mind goes up. Okay, and which is important, right? And then you're working at, okay, now what can I do to improve my skills so I can generate more money? I'm watching or reading, and I'm not trying to entertain myself. I need to educate myself so that I can be more valuable to the marketplace so I can earn more money. That's because, see, where does money come? Money doesn't come from the government. Money doesn't come from you asking for a raise. Money's a result of serving, pleasing your fellow man, as Walter Williams would say, right? And so if you look at your dollars are certificates of performance, right? So if you go to Whole Foods and you want a bottle of wine and a steak, when you check out, basically what they're asking you is, did you please your fellow man? And if you say yes, prove it. That means you have money on your Apple Pay account. You have money in your account or your credit, your bank account, because the money is a result of creating value in the marketplace. So if you don't have enough money, you don't make enough money. This is separate from that. But you gotta see, because your first, as the CEO of your household, your first goal is production. You have to be a producer, right? We've been trained to be consumers. We get money, and money. My kids are like that. My daughter's like, oh, I want to go to Suburban Square, and I saw this great top at Brandy Melville, right? She's at that age, right? So it's like, it's only $30. It's on sale. It's not. You don't have a job, right? You don't have a business. Like, you think money comes because you cross the Cash App, right? I had her butt in the office today. So listen, let me show you what we do here, why you can do this crap, why we can take you places. And so we have to, we're disconnected with where resources come from. But if you just look at, all right, pay yourself first and then work backwards, you'll find that, oh, I didn't use this. I'm not using this. Why am I doing that? You adjust your withholding. You stop sending extra money to your mortgage. You get with a good tax strategist to, or in fact, just Google fill out my W-4 and go to the IRS withholding calculator and learn how to adjust it so that, I had a guy I was looking at, he was like, why is this guy so broke? He was making $8,000-9,000 a month. And I'm like, why are you so broke? Because I looked at his net pay and I said, well, how many, did you get a tax refund? He goes, yeah. I said, how much? $10,000. I almost fell out. I said, well, I was like, wait. All right, so how about what if you could adjust this? I said, I'm not going to steal all your joy, but what if you only got back 2,000? So that's $8,000 a year that you could get back in his check. That because he had credit card debt, was behind on stuff, he's getting bounce checks because you were impacting your cash flow because you had all your money all tied up and you weren't getting your money. So part of it's there, right? But you still have to set up an auto save thing and then work backwards and find the money. And so that's kind of what I take people through is that.
And
That's the first
and
step
that
in the
that
process.
that is really good. And just again, something he said about, don't pay extra into your mortgage and just hear the logic behind that, right? If you're adding $200 to principal, right? But your mortgage is about $500,000, right? How about you take that money, put it in some kind of investment vehicle that could potentially yield you $500,000 in one pop, right? If that's what you decide to do. But it's going to take you so long to do that when that money can be working for you in the interim, right? And so, just wanted to, if you heard that and like, well, that's not being good stewarder. I mean, what he also said that you can't miss is that this is systematic and this is structured, right? This is how people create runways. This is how they ensure the next generation isn't starting from ground zero. This is how they're able to do what they want to do, have a high quality of life, and not have buyer's remorse while they're trying to live at the same time. So
Right.
hear it through that lens and that lens only. Okay. Curtis, if someone listening today decided today is their reset, in fact, because at the top of this, I said, don't mean you are dead in the water. Doesn't mean that, all is lost. It doesn't mean you might be balling a little bit. You still need a reset, right? You should be resetting. And I gave the reasons why is because things are ever changing by the second, right? The cost of things is changing. The way people do business is changing. You got your favorite, I'm making this up, but it's sort of, it's the truth. Maybe your favorite discount store that you used to go to, they close their doors, right? So now you got to go to another store. There are always changes that requires you to shift and your finances to shift with it. And so you want to be in this place. If you want to be healthy, remember, we believe here that health leads to wealth. And if you want to see financial stability and security, you should always be resetting.
Mhm.
And we said at the top of the hour, rather it is quarterly, monthly, daily, you should be doing it. So Curtis, if someone's in that place of resetting, they've accepted the challenge, what would be the very first action you would recommend them taking tomorrow morning?
So I think you should have I mean, it right out. Here's what I have coming in. Here's what I got going out. I'm going back to that. So you got to master the basics, right? But then you can always reset. You really should look at your numbers weekly, weekly. And I had this woman. It was like a woman coach, a financial coach. This is like 4 years ago. What I like? She says you should have a money date with you or with you and your spouse once a month, and you look at how are we doing? How are we saving? What are our
Oh,
goals?
that's good. That's
Right?
good. Did y'all hear that? I mean, that's like, we said we wanted to make sure you get practical tools so that you can shift. And don't worry about how bad it is. or don't worry about how good it is, because this ain't about
Because the
either
past is the
or.
past, right? So it doesn't matter. You once you know more, you can do more because you did the best you could with what you know, right? So you have to work at knowing more. Jim Rohn would say most people don't have a money problem; they have a philosophy problem, right? Because if you think I got to work, I got to pay my bills, that's a philosophy, right? Part of all I earn is mine to keep. That's a philosophy, right? So if
Would
you
you say
change,
that living, would you say living 100% off of earned income, which I see is one of the biggest mistakes that people make? Would you say that that's a philosophy too,
um,
or that's a habit?
yes, it's more of a. So here's how I view that. I say, look, wages make you a living, profits make you a fortune. Okay, so you got to earn a living. That's earned income. That's your W-2 income. Because most people really don't aren't ready to earn be in business for themselves, right? So you got to practice entrepreneurship. So when I say work profits are better than wages, but I think you should work on your wages part time. I think you should work on your wages at night, on your lunch break, before you go to work, and on the weekends, right? And so to work on whatever that, because I just view the wages as this or earned income as a financing your apprenticeship until you can get your thing going, you know. So I view the job as a temporary inconvenience to get to, to give me the money I needed so I got good at this. I was part time in financial services for 4 or 5 years because I was 21 and I was not good. I was gonna say sucked, but I wasn't good, and I was 21, broken, single. All my friends were 21, broken, single, so I didn't really have anybody to talk to. So I had to grow into the market and grow into my confidence. As people still looking at me like, "Well, what can you tell me about money, boy? I got socks older than you, right?" So so I had, so I overcompensated with that, making sure I knew what I was talking about. But you have to it really goes, but you could start over every month. You should start. I wasn't happy with the way my summer was going. I was like, I don't like how I'm managing cash flow to practical wealth. And I went into ChatGPT. I took my financials. I said, let's look at this. Let's look at that. I want a 90. So I think you should think in terms of 90 days, right? You can
Okay,
change
so
your
the
life
first
in
thing
90
that
days.
they should do is to know their numbers,
Know
right?
their
That's the
numbers.
first thing. Now we got something, other things that you could do, but we want to help you take it in manageable chunks, right? And if you're like, listen, I don't want to do all of that, we do, we'll give you some options that you can do. But if you are the type that you need to take it in manageable chunks, the very first step to do tomorrow is to break it up in manageable chunks. And let's be clear, he mentioned, what, while you working to do your thing, everybody may not start a business from scratch, but you can get money to invest in an already established business. That's why we tell people to structure their businesses properly so that you can get a valuation. And if you want to sell it, you can sell it. People buy systems, they buy already built in things. And then there's other ways as well that you can multiply your money. And so, as we come in for landing tonight, I want you, some things you need more than one pass, right? So, one, you should have already shared this live out, and you should save it so that you can go back and listen to it. Right now, if you're going to be really serious about understanding where your money went and not having that same story over and over again, then you need to take a moment, identify what is the space that you're using right now that you might can replace this hour with, to really, as he mentioned, to master the principles, right? This is if you're tired of asking, where's my money, or why I don't have enough, or I would do this if I had this, or these bills seem like they just ain't never decreasing, right? Or maybe you find yourself, in deferment with loans, or either student loans or loans with other people. We believe that, you want to take care of that. You don't run from that stuff, but you want to position yourself so that, as Curtis mentioned, and this is where we align. This is a holistic approach to this because it does affect you, right? Your stress level goes up, you're snippy, you're angry, and if you ever wondering like, yo, what is happening, why my vibe is off, I'm gonna say follow the money, right? Or the lack thereof. And that is a key component and indicator of what's going on, that shows up externally. And so let's we get ready to come in for Landon. And what I do want you to do, Curtis has an assessment, a free assessment that you can take. That's in the chat. Take that. We have, if you're like, listen, I'm ready to get relief today, we have a 7-day financial reset guide that can help you. Not is not information, it is implementation, so that you can fast track your way into getting relief and or shifting, pivoting, scaling, whatever you want to do. And so those resources are in the chat for you. But we're getting ready to go through something else that is also going to aid you in shifting and transforming your finances. So under 60 seconds, you got to answer 30 questions, Curtis.
Oh, okay.
30 questions. Now you ain't do so good. We was at 10 and we were already at 120 seconds the last time, right? I might be exaggerating, but Curtis, the first thing comes to your mind, okay? All right. Now let me get my timer because I gotta watch you. All right. Wait a minute. Hold it. I gotta put my timer on here because you be cutting up and you can't ask for no additional time like last time. All right, ready, set, and go. Biggest money mistake.
Not managing cash flow.
Biggest cash flow myth.
I I can't afford to save.
Budget or cash flow.
Cash flow.
Emergency fund or debt payoff first.
Emergency fund.
Best financial habit.
Paying yourself first.
Worst financial habit.
Paying off debt as your primary objective.
Debt or credit.
Good question.
Credit. Subscription everyone forgets.
Hulu.
One expense families overlook.
Eating out.
That's a good one. One bill people should renegotiate.
The interest rates on their credit cards.
Most underrated wealth tool.
Life insurance.
Most overrated financial advice.
Max out your 401k.
Oh, that's good. One money app you like.
Currents.
One habit that instantly improves cash flow. Best advice for couple. Go ahead. You got it?
No, yeah, cutting unnecessary transfers. Sorry, that's a lauder. Go to
Best
next.
advice.
Yeah.
Best advice for couples.
Have a money date.
Best advice. Oh, I love that. Oh, have a money date now.
Have a money date.
Best advice for entrepreneurs.
You can have a money date too.
Absolutely. What's one thing everyone should stop
Get a bookkeeper. Stop buying.
Inanimate objects. I'm gonna say it. Non-income.
Doodads. Rich Dad will call them doodads. Things that take money out of your pocket.
What's worth
liabilities?
What's worth paying more for?
If good education, good counsel.
What's the fastest leak to fix?
Taxes.
What's cash or convenience?
Cash.
Automate or manually manage?
Automate.
Should kids learn spending accounts?
They should learn how to save 20% of every check they get. So no,
Biggest
they already know how
mindset
to spend.
shift.
Biggest money what?
Biggest mindset shift.
Uh, part of all I earn is mine to keep.
Best money, best book on money.
Ooh, that is a loaded question. Richest
One
man,
financial word everyone should understand.
cash flow.
Rich people habit everyone can copy.
Pay yourself first.
If you had to start over financially if you had to start over financially tomorrow,
I would save before I invested.
you know your time has been up, but we got like four more. What's one thing you never waste money on?
I can't. I'm going blank. I waste a
What's
lot of
one
money.
in what? Not Curtis. What's
Well, I
one
got kids, so
what's one investment
my
everyone should
children.
make in themselves?
Uh, reading, good personal development, investing in personal development.
Finish this sentence. Financial freedom begins when
My passive income is equal to or greater than my bills.
I want you to say that again, since that's the last one. Finish this sentence. Financial freedom begins when.
My passive or my asset based income is equal to or greater than my expenses.
Awesome. Curtis, thank you. And here's what I hope everyone walks away with today. Many people believe they need more income. Sometimes, right? But sometimes you simply need better stewardship. You don't always have to earn more before you improve your financial life. Sometimes you just simply need to stop the leaks. And here's the encouraging part. If you can recover just 200, 300, $500 every month, that's money that can now build an emergency fund or multiply or put in investment to multiply your money, maybe pay down the debt or begin creating a legacy you've always wanted. As I mentioned, Curtis has created a free assessment that will help you identify where financial leaks may be. And I encourage every single one of you to take it, right? And then come over and join me for the 7-day financial reset. That's in the link as well, where we'll show you exactly how to plug those leaks and create a plan that works for you and your household. Now, next week, I want you to say next week. Type next week in the chat, right? I want you to type next week in the chat. We're taking this conversation one step further. I already believe that you have gotten some tips, a tactic, a tool, because we mentioned books, we mentioned sheets, we mentioned money apps, we mentioned habits. I mean, there were so many things that you could take away today that you can implement today. Remember, these lives are designed for implementation. They are not designed for more information. They're designed for implementation, right? And so we're going to take the conversation one step further next week. That once you found the leak, we the next step is where should that money go, right? We'll be talking about the account that most people don't even know they need and why it could completely change the way you think about cash flow. And so listen again. Sometimes you it's not about being informed, it's about being reminded. And so if you're serious about shifting your own narrative, right? Shifting the trajectory of your finances, not just for today, but for tomorrow and for generations to come, go back and listen to this live. And let it sink in. Start mastering it, right? They say that our attention span is about 2 seconds, right? Given all of what comes into our eye gate these days and our heart gate. But listen, you get a chance to take control over your cash flow. And that is what Curtis mentioned earlier today. And so until next time, I want you to remember at Built to Last, we're intentional about building people, places, properties, and profit margins because we're not just trying to make more money. We're building lives, we're building families, we're building legacies that are truly built to last. Now, Curtis, I want you to take the to have the last word. I want to say God bless you all and we'll see you next week. But Curtis, let take us home, please.
I want to say the same thing. Just decide to win. Take control of your finances. The first step is awareness. And if you know what's going on, you know what to do. So figure out what's going on. Financial literacy is accounting, what's coming in, what's going out. It's not investing, right? And so that's where you start. And that's the keys to the kingdom right there is cash flow control.
Oh, next week. God bless you all, and we'll see you next week. Okay, Curtis, say goodbye to the good people.
Goodbye, good people.
I love that guy.